Hi, everybody. Welcome again to Ivy English. I'm Bruce.
I'm Angela.
And I'm Wesley.
Today is January 14th, and we have a very special lesson for you. This one is called The Everlasting Appeal of Moroccan Slippers.
我们的中文标题是来一双时尚摩洛哥拖鞋。好，那这个中文英文标题之间的关系不是翻译关系。好，那英文的标题各位就注意，这个是 everlasting， 就是永远持续着，不会灭掉，不会变弱的，永远存在的 everlasting appeal 就是一个让人觉得很棒的地方，这个吸引人的地方。好，那 Moroccan slippers 就是今天我们要讲的主题，摩洛哥拖鞋。
Right, so I'll read through the whole paragraph now for you, and then we go back to explain each and every sentence. Stroll through a bazaar in Marrakesh or Fes, and eventually you will come across a stall lined with pairs upon pairs of brightly colored shoes. These Moroccan slippers, or babouche, are easily recognizable. They have flat soles and are open at the back. Styles with a round toe are Berber babouche, and ones with pointed toes are the Arabic version. In terms of design, anything goes. You can find anything from simple leather slippers to shoes that are covered in embroidery and beads. The babouche originated in the Middle East thousands of years ago and were worn by nomadic Bedouins that lived throughout North Africa. The French name for the slipper most likely comes from the Arabic word babouche or the Persian word papouche. The shoes became extremely popular in 17th century France when they were worn as a fashionable status symbol among wealthy courtiers. Interestingly, while Moroccan slippers were gaining traction in France, they were being banned in Morocco. After parts of Morocco were recaptured from the Spanish, the ruler Moulay Ismail ibn Sharif outlawed black slippers because he felt they were a sign of the Spanish Catholics. He allowed Jewish residents to wear the black shoes, though, since it was part of their custom at the time. Meanwhile, Muslims were required to wear yellow slippers. Over the centuries, the shoes have gone in and out of style. They have even been featured on high-end runways and in fashion magazines in recent years. Thanks to their overwhelming popularity, you don't need to plan a trip to Morocco to get your hands on some. However, if you do want a more authentic pair, it is recommended that you buy your Moroccan slippers in Fes, where there are tanneries that produce the leather used for the shoes.
So you can stroll through a bazaar, that's a market, in Marrakesh or Fes, and eventually, sooner or later, you will come across a stall or a stand lined with pairs upon pairs of brightly colored shoes, i.e. heaven.
好，所以呢，这个对很多女生来讲，哇，这都是天堂啊。
I'm not just going to say women here. There's a lot of men who are deeply into their shoes. Just saying.
OK
Get it deeply into the shoe.
所以这个地方Angela 老师抗议，他说不止女生哦，男生也有很多人喜欢鞋子的哈。那我想，这个一定有的啊。所以总之，喜欢鞋子的人来讲，这个就是天堂。所以他说 stroll 就是漫步哈 ，stroll 它就是所谓漫步就是什么呀？就是它这个 leisurely walk 好是很悠闲的一个走路哈，所以你这样漫步穿过这个 bazaar 就是一个市集好 a market 好，它常常是义卖的市集或者是二手货的一个这个市场哈，但在这里就是指一个市场，所以你可以走过一个市场啊，在这个 Marrakesh 或者 Fes 这两个地方，你可以在这地方逛市场，然后呢 eventually 就是in the end 或者是 at an unspecified future time 就是你只要走你一定会碰到的意思啊，所以你一定会怎么样会 come across 就是你会遇到 to meet or find by chance 你会 come across a stall 一个摊位 a stand 也可以 stand S-T-A-N-D 就站立那个字的名词也可以指摊位，那这个摊位呢 它是 lined with 就排放着 ，line 就是把它排放啊，像这一排一排放好，所以 lined with 通常在边缘啊或者在边边啊，会排好排很多的这个 pairs upon pairs。upon 这个地方是一个特别的用法，它是用来强调这个数字或者数量，它放在两个同样的名词之间啊，所以这里 pairs upon pairs。好，那有时候你可以说 ，Well, we drove across mile upon mile of wide open space 啊，我们这一里一里啊 ，mile upon mile 啊，就是很表示开了很多里的意思。
That appealed to the two Americans in the room.
Yeah, 那这个 Bruce 老师跟Angela 老师听到都觉得很棒啊，因为其实在美国这个很多地方开车的时候就是这种感觉哈，那 wide open space 啊，
Yeah.
很宽阔的地方哈。那台湾比较难这种感觉，除非到嘉南平原啊，嘉南平原可能会有那种感觉啊，就是很比较平这样子。
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Taiwan's a very intimate landscape, and it's completely different from American landscape, which is why I love it.
台湾呢，这个我第一次听到这种说法，我觉得很恰当啊，就是 intimate 的 landscape。台湾的这个景观呢，会让你觉得很亲切哈，因为就让你觉得you're always in the middle of something 那种感觉。
You're always close to things. You're always tucked into like a fold of the mountains or a fold of the land. It's it's a very comfortable and intimate space. Yeah.
所以在台湾你随时会觉得好像这个土地好像在包着你，好捧着你那种感觉。好，那美国有些地方就非常宽阔啊，甚至到荒凉的程度哈。那当然这个不同的景观了哈，所以这个 pairs upon pairs 就是很多很多双的 brightly colored shoes 啊，颜色很鲜艳的鞋子。
You might also read pair after pair.
好，那你也可以讲 pair after pair 啊，这个 of brightly colored shoes 都可以。
These Moroccan slippers or babouche are easily recognizable. Excuse my Arabic. It's babouche, according to the dictionary. It's in italics because it is not an English word.
And it's not become an English word either.
Right. So we say Moroccan slippers. That's how most people who aren't from that area or aren't familiar with this item would call them. If something is easily recognizable, then, oh, that's a kangaroo. You've seen 100 pictures of a kangaroo in your life and videos and whatnot. If you go to Australia and you're out of the cities, you might actually see a real one. It's easily recognizable. There's nothing else that looks like it.
好，所以呢，这个摩洛哥拖鞋呢，或者你称为 babouche 哈，这个当然是它原来的语言的说法哈。那它是非常的 are easily recognizable， 就是很容易辨认，也就是一看你就知道啊，就是这个东西，你一看就知道了。
So they have flat soles and are open at the back, and that's what makes them recognizable. It's just a very clear style.
那他们有扁平的 soles 就是鞋底，他们鞋底是扁平的，然后呢 and are open 就是有开口 at the back， 所以它后面是有开口的，后面没有一个东西把你这个整个脚包起来。
All right, continuing. Styles with a round toe are Berber babouche, and ones with pointed toes are the Arabic version. So now we're finding out that we have Berber and Arabic Moroccan slippers. What's the difference? Well, at least one of them is that for Berber, these are people who live out in the desert. Their slippers, Moroccan slippers, have a round toe. But if you're Arabic living in the cities, then your Moroccan slippers have pointed toes. They come together at an angle.
好 ，styles 就是款式。好，所以它有两种款式，一种是 styles with a round toe， 就是圆头的这个款式。toe 它可以指脚趾，但是它也可以指鞋尖啊 ，the part of a sock 或者是 shoe that goes over the toes。所以这个地方它指这个脚趾，就是鞋尖的部分是圆的啊。那这种脚尖是圆的鞋尖是圆的呢，称为 Berber babouche。然后呢 ones 就是 styles 啊。如果是 pointed toes， 它的鞋的头如果是尖的话呢，就是 Arabic version， 就是阿拉伯的这个样式。
Now, you can find, in terms of design, anything goes. Like how they are decorated, there is so many variations. You can find anything from simple leather slippers, just very chic and very plain, to shoes that are covered in embroidery and beads and are fancy enough for a wedding.
In terms of 就是就什么什么而言，我们就拿一个 aspect 来讲，所以我们如果谈的是我们就 design 就设计来讲呢，这种鞋子 babouche 是什么？它的 anything goes。那这个是一个英文很有用的一个片语一个句子就 anything goes 是百无禁忌什么都可以，所以并没有限制说你要怎么样设计，反正设计上面来讲百无禁忌的。You can find anything， 你什么都找得到然后接下来 from A to B， 在这个 range从 A 到 B 这样的一个范围里面呢，你什么都看得到，所以换句话说，这所谓的 anything goes 那从什么东西呢？从 simple leather slippers 从这个简单的 leather 这个皮革 slippers 就是拖鞋 to shoes that are covered in 一边是最简单的皮革的拖鞋，到另外一边呢是覆盖着或者在覆盖在什么当中呢？在这个 embroidery 就是刺绣，还有 beads 还有珠子所以你也可以看到那种很漂亮的刺绣还有珠子的那样子的鞋子所以都有，从很简单的到很繁复的都有。
The babouche originated in the Middle East thousands of years ago. Now we have a geographic distinction here. The Middle East we usually think of as Saudi Arabia and maybe further north to Iraq, Kuwait, the Gulf states, and the peninsula like Oman, Yemen. That's the Middle East, maybe Turkey as well. But northern Africa, which we mention in the rest of this sentence, and were worn by nomadic Bedouins that lived throughout North Africa. That's from Morocco to, most people would include, say, Egypt, the northern top of the African continent. Now, Bedouins were nomadic. In fact, they still are. They travel from place to place on camels and through the deserts. In the Middle East, there you have a very different landscape because of there are more rivers, there are some lakes, and those are the Arabic peoples who have settled and they have become citified. They live in cities and towns now and they have businesses and so on. But the Bedouins, they travel from place to place.
好，所以呢，这个 babouche originated 它原来发源于什么呢？发源于哪里？发源于中东而且是 thousands of years ago 数千年前就在中东有了。然后呢 and were worn by 它被谁穿呢？什么样的人穿它呢？是这个 nomadic 游牧的 Bedouins 就是贝都因人那这些人是怎么样 that lived throughout North Africa 他们的生活范围是遍及北非所以这个地方就告诉你说它的来源是中东，然后呢是这个北非的这个贝都因人游牧的人他们所穿的中东跟北非还蛮接近的。
The French name for the slipper, which is babouche, it most likely comes from the Arabic word babouche, spelt differently, or the Persian word papouche.
好，那法文的名字就这一个拖鞋的法文名字呢，最有可能的是 most likely 它是来自于阿拉伯的这一个字babouche， 或者是来自于波斯文的这一个字papouche， 都有可能。
The shoes became extremely popular in 17th century France when they were worn as a fashionable status symbol among wealthy courtiers. So in France, that's one of the European countries that thought, wow, those are cool. I want a pair too. But they probably were not made in France. They had to be imported. They were more expensive than the local shoes. So it showed your wealth.
Showed you were cool.
好，所以这个鞋子呢变得是 extremely popular 非常的受欢迎在17世纪的法国when 就在那个时候呢，法国人穿这个鞋子呢是当做一个 fashionable 一个很时髦的 status symbol， 就是一个地位身份的象征among 在谁当中是个地位身份的象征呢？在那有钱的courtiers 就是宫廷大臣当中呢是时髦的象征。
Interestingly, while Moroccan slippers were gaining traction in France, gaining traction. Traction means that you have a grip, and you want shoes that have traction, especially on slippery surfaces, so you don't slip and fall down. So talking about shoes gaining traction in France is hilarious. Because another meaning for gaining traction means that people are becoming more and more interested in them. They're gaining more and more a bigger slice of the cultural consciousness. So while they're becoming popular in France, they were being banned in Morocco. And I suppose the people who sold them were therefore very happy to have this extra market in that strange far-off country, France.
Yeah, 好，这一句很有趣啊。他开始讲说 interestingly 啊，那当这个 Moroccan slippers were gaining traction in France， 这个是个双关语啊。traction 是摩擦力哈，所以你穿鞋子当然需要有摩擦力哈。但是呢，这个双关语的另一个意思 gain traction， 它的意思就是 to become popular， 或者是 become accepted， 通常是个新的东西啊，一个这个新的产品、新的观念，甚至于可能是个 new word 哈，或者是个 new phrase， 就变得比较流行，变得比较能够被人接受。所以这个地方是双关语，一方面讲说它在法国越来越受欢迎啊，那另外一方面也是表示说。他在法国呢，这个鞋子蛮有摩擦力的，走得不错啊。那 they were being banned in Morocco， 但他们在摩洛哥反而是被禁止的。好，这个禁止啊，英文有3个字，常常会用到哈。那我们现在稍微简单介绍一下 ，ban 这个字表示禁止，通常是官方的正式的禁止。你看到 ban 这个字，你就会想到取缔啊，就是它会出来取缔的。那通常 ban 当然还要记得，就它是跟这个一些。社会的秩序啊，或者跟道德有关的啊，所以像这个地方官方禁止你穿，因为他会觉得这个是有违社会秩序，或者是有违什么样的这个善良风俗等等，那是 ban。那另外一个呢 ，forbid， 它的语气最轻，它通常是一个权威者，例如说父母啊、老师啊、老板啊，上对下的一种不允许啊。所以例如说你说 the manager forbids chatting。During office hours， 所以 manager 他是老大，他告诉你们不可以哦，上对下，这是 forbid。那另外一个 prohibit， P-R-O-H-I-B-I-T， 它通常是指官方用法律规定来禁止啊，那违反的人呢会受到处罚，或者需要负这个法律责任，所以它通常会让我们想到这个官方的法律啊。所以各位记得这个 prohibit 有一个很常见的 collocation 啊，就是 something is strictly prohibited by law， 就是法律严格禁止啊，这3个字稍微这个大家了解一下。所以这个地方用 banned 是很适合的，因为就是官方禁止你穿，他可能觉得鞋子不好啊，或者代表什么什么，觉得他有这会影响社会秩序，所以不准。
After parts of Morocco were recaptured from the Spanish, which tells us that at one point in history, Spain controlled some of Morocco, but then the Moroccans got their independence from Spain. The ruler, Moulay Esmail Ibn Sharif, I don't know Arabic, and my apologies to this person or his descendants, outlawed, here we go with banned and forbid, forbade, and so on, black slippers because he felt they were a sign of the Spanish Catholics. In Spain, Catholics are the largest religious group, and they have had a very bad relationship with...
It's not just that they were the largest religious group. It's that the king and queen of Spain were Catholic, and very Catholic, and they oppressed the Muslims in their territories, and there was this whole religious component to the occupation. And so when they kicked them out, they were all like, yeah, and your religion too.
Yes, welcome to European History 101.
Well, in North African, because the Spanish actually colonized parts of Morocco, and the Moroccans were like, yeah, now we're taking it back, and now no more black slippers for you.
好，所以呢，这很有趣。他说，这个after parts of Morocco were recaptured from the Spanish， 所以西班牙人呢曾经占据过这个摩洛哥的一部分哈，那这些部分呢后来被摩洛哥人他们重新夺回哈 recaptured， 从西班牙人手中重新夺回了这些原来属于摩洛哥的地方呢，在这个之后呢，摩洛哥的这个 ruler 啊，这个统治者啊叫穆莱伊斯梅尔伊本谢里夫啊，这我用中文念比较快一点哈，他就宣布啊，他宣布什么呢啊？宣布这个 black slippers 是非法的啊。那 outlaw 在这里是 当动词to make something illegal 所以这个地方跟 ban 的这个意思感觉就是非常的配outlaw 的意思就是这是法律不允许的那跟 ban 一样它也有那种我会取缔的那种感觉，它强调是取缔prohibited 只是告诉你官方禁止，它比较没有那么强的取缔的意味那所以在这里它 outlaw 一样的意思，它不让大家穿黑色的拖鞋，因为他认为说黑色的拖鞋是 a sign of the Spanish Catholics， 就是认为那是西班牙天主教徒的一个标志，一个 sign， 所以我们现在把西班牙人赶走了，大家也不准穿黑拖鞋了。
So then, this is amusing, though, is that he allowed Jewish residents to wear the black shoes. So black shoes are associated with Catholics, except Jewish people also wore them. And since Jewish people often have very strict wardrobe requirements in their religion, so he was like, oh, well, you guys can wear them because it was a part of their custom. It was a part of their customary wardrobe, their customary dress at the time.
Yeah, 但是因为那是穿黑色的鞋子是这个犹太人的文化的一部分所以他允许犹太的居民穿黑色的鞋子。
Meanwhile, Muslims were required to wear yellow slippers. It is hard to understand this. It might even seem funny to you, but people were kicked out of the country they had been living in or were killed just because of the color and type of shoes.
And also, well, now all the Jewish people are very recognizable as Jewish because they're in the black slippers. And you know what I mean? Like, you can look at someone's feet and know what their religious affiliation is. That kind of stuff always leads to trouble and discrimination.
所以大家发现这个各种不同的宗教种族的不同连鞋子的颜色都会分因为这里讲到说这个回教徒呢，他们必须要穿黄色的拖鞋。
Our fourth paragraph. Over the centuries, these shoes that we're talking about have gone in and out of style. We say the shoes because we're pointing to specifically babouche. We're not talking about shoes in general.
所以 the shoes 就指这个 babouche 在这么多世纪以来呢，他们有的时候很流行，有的时候退流行gone in style 就是变得流行 out of style 就退流行。
They have even been featured on high-end runways, so they're in style, and in fashion magazines, in style, in recent years.
最近几年他们甚至于出现在一些高端的 high-end runways 就是伸展台还有在那个时装杂志里面，表示最近几年他们很流行。
Yeah, I mean, you can even see it. Local Taiwanese shoe makers are making this style of shoe recently. It looks really cool. They're doing it in like nude leather and stuff.
所以连台湾的这个厂商都有在做了。
Now, thanks to their overwhelming popularity, because everyone really, really likes them right now, you don't need to plan a trip to Morocco to get your hands on some. You can get some from a local Taiwanese shoemaker, so do that.
Yeah.Overwhelming 就是势不可挡的压倒性的，所以他们非常受欢迎那 thanks to 多亏他们这么受欢迎，所以呢你不需要计划一个旅程一个旅行到摩洛哥去才能够 get your hands on 就是获取得到这个鞋子你在台湾就买得到。
Oh yeah, I mean if you're in China, I just saw there's Alibaba has a whole ton of them.
所以阿里巴巴上面也有卖很多。
However, if you do want a more authentic pair,And here that would mean made in Morocco by Moroccans. It is recommended that you buy your Moroccan slippers in Fez. By the way, this is sometimes spelled F-E-Z on some maps.
Like the hat.
Where there are tanneries. This is a leather-making business that produce the leather used for the shoes.
好，但是呢，如果你想要一双真正很道地的 authentic， 就是真的是这个摩洛哥的人在摩洛哥做的这个鞋子的话呢 ，it is recommended that 我们推荐你呢去哪里买？去 Fez 买。那 where 就是在 Fez 这个地方呢，有那种 tanneries， 就是制皮革的厂他们会生产这个做这种鞋子所用的皮革，所以在这里买最道地。
Now, we have some questions here for you, number one of which is, who were first known for wearing Moroccan slippers?
就目前所知，谁最先穿摩洛哥拖鞋呢？
The answer is B, nomadic tribes, specifically the Bedouins.
答案是 B, 游牧民族尤其特别就是贝都因人。
Number 2, according to the passage, which of the following statements is true?
根据本文，下列哪一项叙述是正确的？
And the answer is C, For religious reasons, Moulay Ismail Ibn Sharif banned black babouche.
好，答案是 C。出于宗教原因，穆莱伊斯梅尔伊本谢里夫禁止黑色摩洛哥拖鞋。
Number 3, according to the passage, which of the following is not true about Moroccan slippers?
根据本文，下列何者关于摩洛哥拖鞋的叙述不正确？
The answer is A. The toes of Moroccan slippers come in only one shape. That is not true. They can be pointed or round.
答案是 A。摩洛哥拖鞋的鞋头只有一种形状，这不对，因为它可以是尖的，可以是圆的。
And number 4, which of the following images is a picture of Moroccan slippers?
下列哪一张图是摩洛哥拖鞋？
Well, according to the description in the article, it would be C.
好，所以根据我们文章的叙述，答案是 C。
That's it for today's lesson. Please join us whenever you can.